Welcome to Just Beyond the CV podcast. My name's Rich Howell and I'm your host. This podcast exists to expose the messy human truths behind career journeys, the career gaps, the redundancies, the pivots, the mental health struggles, and life-driven decisions that LinkedIn and a CV edits out. You know, the things that no one else ever sees. I firmly believe that careers can be squiggly. Life events can be career drivers. Failure and mistakes can grow you. And authenticity, potential matter more than a title or a timeline. This podcast will question the conventional career advice. It will help you if you are struggling with change and will tell some of the most amazing human stories behind a CV. These stories have already helped me and I now want them to help you. I will challenge the assumptions that many people make. I will challenge the status quo. We're not here to tell you what you want to hear. We're here to tell the truth behind the CV. And in doing so, spark the courage to rethink your career on your own terms, give you confidence, and motivate you to do special things. Welcome back to Just Beyond the CV. Today I'm joined by Tom Woodhams, tech recruiter, 10 years experience. But where I've got to know Tom is through content, LinkedIn. He is a top voice.
Wow.
How long have you been a top voice?
Top voice for about a year. Nearly, yeah, a year.
And that is what I'm aiming towards, hopefully one day.
That's it, mate. Keep going.
Keep
Keep it up.
Yeah, but most importantly, Tom, where I've got to know you from and why I approached you for this podcast is ADHD and the awareness that you're raising around neurodiversity. So we're going to talk a lot about that today, but also talk about the strengths, the challenges, your story, and welcome to the podcast, mate.
Mate, pleasure to be here. It's beautiful in here, isn't it?
Thank you. We chose
Nice.
well.
We do. I like it.
Good.
I love it.
Excellent. First question, which we ask every guest.
Okay.
So we'll start.
What's your favourite colour?
What is it?
Orange.
Great. I've never really guessed
it's
that.
actually purple because I feel like the purple represents my beautiful coloured, wired brain.
Is your CV colourful?
I think neurodivergent brains are purple. I genuinely mean that.
Why did you say that?
Just because it's purple, it's just out there. I think being neurodivergent and dressing outwardly, it's part of it, and I think the purple brain represents it perfectly.
And is your CV colourful?
No, it's not, but it can be if I want it to. But I think but even with the podcast, it's purple. It's just that I don't know if it's just powerful. It's not like I'm Cadbury's or anything.
No,
Cadbury's brand or
no.
But
And what's something about your career that people never understand just by looking at your CV?
I'm ginger. No, I think when we talk about the CV and we're looking at it, I think everyone's got a real story behind it. Like you can't really know what's going on behind a CV without talking to people. But I think for me, being neurodivergent, you can't. If you didn't, you may be able to pick up on it on some of the short stints, the jobs that I've had and not worked out because I've been sacked or I've been just left from a job because someone said something the wrong way to me. That wouldn't give it away. But if you actually think about it from a professional recruitment perspective, you'd probably think I'm hoppy, risk,
Jumpy,
hoppy, Easter bunny. So you would end up then thinking, well, that's a risk. And then obviously you look at companies and they go, oh, he hasn't done 2, 3, 4 years stint. But then even as you know, someone working in a company 25 years, that's a red flag. So what's the right answer?
I don't, mate. I genuinely don't think there is one. The perfect CV does not exist. But the thing is, though, and I get a lot of people messaging me, as I'm sure you do, because we're both very open about our ADHD. Is that you get that? I've got loads of short stints, and unless you actually say on your CV, I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
Where is the there is no. I mean, how do you think people can come away from that?
What come away from
sort of that view? Because if you look at someone's CV and
it's being curious. And what I always like to come back to is being curious with good intention, because we can all have. There's two things I like to have here: is we can all be sympathetic, and we can all be empathy, and they're two different things. Someone going, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. Tell me a little bit more and let me understand that." So they're the two things: is having empathy and sympathy. They're the two major things for me. I think when you're looking at a CV, it's like we all know being being in either an agency or being in TA, you have to be curious. Tell us a little bit about that. And it all comes down to people's journeys. Do they feel comfortable enough? They could have had a career break because they've had a mental health challenge. They could be having a career break because they're helping their nan build up a new garage down the back. Whatever that is. But if I said, why did you leave that job? What you'll normally find is it didn't work out. Now, what didn't work out was either from an ADHD perspective, I got sacked. I took a conversation the wrong way. I didn't like my manager. Blah, blah, blah. So if someone is neurodivergent, that does, and this is why I say about promoting being neurodivergent and talking about it, because then you can understand someone's story a little bit better. Someone saying, do you know what, I left because someone said something the wrong way. I said my work wasn't the best. Suddenly it wasn't the best. Well, that means they might think my work is shit, so I'm leaving. So it's being curious. I think being curious with good intention is super important, and also having the empathy piece. But you can't teach empathy.
I think empathy is quite big in ADHD.
Massive, and I think we're massive empaths.
Yeah,
pick up on everyone's vibes.
Yeah,
everyone can. We're like the agony aunts.
Yeah, I look at my business, and like the empathy that I've put into that around the giving back, the comeback club we've got about helping the unemployed, just anything. I just want to do good, and I think. You know, we'll talk about the good and the bad of ADHD.
Yeah, of course,
and I know, like, I messaged you about this podcast, and you came straight back going, I've never spoken to you before in my life. And you were like, yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, catching up with you before this episode, you were giving me tips and help and stuff. And I'm like, you know, that's just the empathy coming through, isn't it?
Yeah. And you feel like you've known each other years.
Well, yeah, it does feel like that. I've already spent about 2 hours with you, mate.
But do you know what I mean? That's the kind of relationships you create with people, because you're unmasking, I'm unmasking, I'm being my full self, and there's no fear of judgment. Because if I did have that fear of judgment from you, I wouldn't be how I am, and then I wouldn't come away from that thinking he hates me, thinks I'm weird, thinks I'm this. Because that's the kind of the overthinking like play that would happen for most situations. When you're meeting someone that isn't neurodivergent and you don't feel safe, oversharing, like we talked about earlier, and you then come away feeling really deflated, less confident, putting back in the box again.
Talk me through I think your content is just absolutely on point, and everything you talk about, because there is the playful side of it, and I do look at it, and like, you know, that post you wrote the other day about that young lad spotting you in London.
Dr. Robotnik.
Just quickly tell that story quickly.
So I had a long day at work, doing TA business, as we'll say. But then I was knackered, and then I had my shades on, which are quite small. Obviously, big ginger beard, and then a kid ran over with his Pikachu. He had a Pikachu. It must have been neurodivergent, because there's no way that someone could spot me and quickly hyper-associate me with Dr. Robotnik from Sonic. Come up to me, and he was like this, and I took my headphones off, and he was like, "Oh, you Dr. Robotnik?" And I'm like, "What?" And he went, and I sort of I had to think for a second. I went for Sonic. Oh, yeah. And then his dad came over, and his dad said to me, "Oh, he loves Sonic," and stuff like that. I'm glad he didn't call me Dr. Eggman. I would have been a bit like, he's trying to take the piss. And then, and he was like, so we both stood there for a bit of silence. And then it was like, cheers, mate. And then just walked off.
Just walked off.
So I was both standing there like, yeah, okay, what do you do here? But I think if I didn't know, I think the child would have been neurodivergent. I'm not saying he is.
No.
But for a child to come up to you and be quite upfront, to see someone, to quickly, that's how quickly hyper-association, boom, he reminds me of Dr. Botnick. It's just like if I said about the songs. As soon as I say one lyric, you're hyper-associating with that song because your brain's working so quick.
But what I love about that side of things and your content is the vulnerability of it, because you're actually getting a message through there saying, it's okay to be me, and there's a funny side of it.
Yes,
but what you, I think, is brilliant, and I think a lot of other people do about, you know, what you're doing at the moment in this community is raising like a lot of really serious topics around the challenges that we have, and both you and I share a number of them. Talk me through where this comes from, though. What's your? We all have our own journey of ADHD.
Yeah.
You know, I was diagnosed 3 years ago. My son's diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and one of the reasons I'm super passionate about it is because, you know, when he finishes school, he'll go into the workplace.
Yeah.
And I know it's like a crusade and stuff, but I know you want to do good. But what's your journey, mate?
So I think for me, like the reason why I started posting about it, it does give me purpose. for someone to go to me, hey, just seen the post that you've done. I've watched you for a while. Your stuff's really helped me. I think some of the posts I've done over a period of time has helped like 400 people directly. I've got around four. I think, off the top of my head, about 6 people have gone to push the diagnosis through my content, which is amazing, isn't it? That's
brilliant.
That's what you want. You kind of think when you post, just one person saying, "Oh, you've helped me." That's fine, but then it just grows into the masses. I think for me, it's definitely the stint of not feeling like I didn't fit in anywhere. Didn't want to, I don't know, I couldn't hold a job down, I couldn't hold a relationship down. I went down through various addiction routes. I was actually taken to the doctors when I was 13, and my mum said, something's not right here. Something's not right with
Is that to the doctor?
Yes, the doctor. And when I was 13, and the doctor said, he's just an excitable kid. So that I missed my point there with diagnosis. And then I think a couple of years on, I was depressed. I was really depressed. I wasn't going for my addictions sort of choice then, but they gave me antidepressants, and that's very common with most people. They get given antidepressants. I've got anxiety. I've got depression. That's actually untreated at ADHD most of the time. So you're given antidepressants. You're like, well, these antidepressants not working, and then obviously over a period of time, you end up going down, like not knowing where your life is, lost. One job, and I was fine with neurodivergent, especially with ADHD. You start a job, you're the best person, you're going out the tracks, you're seeing everything else does, and that quickly burns out. You burn out, and then you're getting upset with someone said okay on a Slack message. You then think they hate you. You're spiraling. Everyone's talking about you. And then for me, it was kind of like I felt lost with something, and then I started drinking, and then drink led to drink, as in drink going way above what I needed to do. So if you had your drink now, and this is alcoholic, you've on half of your drink, and I would already be on my third pint within the space of an hour, and most of that came from anxiety. I was so anxious. Being in massive social situations, and because I was let's invite Tom out, he's the joker, he's the laugh, you end up getting a perception or identity that you need to uphold this joker laugh guy. So I used to just get smashed.
And just on that, a lot of people think, because like it's interesting, neither of us drink now.
No,
because
I have a little drink here and there, but
it's just not for me, right? And I know you've said it's not for you, but loads of people think, they're just pissheads. But actually, what it is it's calming the noise in our brains.
Yeah.
And also it's the dopamine deficit where you're kind of like, you'll have one and then...
You're enjoying it. You're releasing dopamine. It's a small release of dopamine. You're thinking, I want to get to it. And it's always that thing. What's my drug of choice? More. That's what it is. More. What's the next big thing? And that led me down to a gambling addiction for nearly 10 years. Gambling all my money away. It used to be £1 bet, £2 bet, £5 bet, going up to nearly £800 a spin on roulette. Done all my money, wages, lied to friends to borrow money. I ended up going down to suicidal ideation. I wanted to end my life. It was to a point where I couldn't hold down a job, I couldn't hold down a relationship, I didn't understand why I was gambling all my money away, nearly went down to criminal activity, fraud.
Yeah.
Never did that, but that's what ran through my mind, is how am I going to get the money to gamble. So
were you working at that time as well?
I was working at different various companies. I wasn't holding down jobs. I think the longest job I've had was one when I'm a recruitment business, and obviously now it's my second job working at, well, not my second job. I'm talking about recruitment here, but I'm talking about my early years. I've never had a criminal record, never been arrested, so it's the addiction that you can't see that addiction with drugs. You'll be able to see if someone's drinking, red face, and all that sort of stuff. Drugs, I don't know. You normally know when someone's using. But with gambling, you don't know. I could have done £2,000 today and coming in, I'd done a podcast and you'd be like, you're right.
We'd never clue.
We'd have a clue. So you end up lying to people about money. Like I had my parents, and yeah, it just ended up taking out payday loans to pay payday loans, gambling, all that. I'm not going to do it again. And I never knew why I kept doing it. I didn't understand because drink triggered. If I was bored or I didn't have anything to do, to regulate, I would then go to down the drinks or the drugs or the gambling. It used to be drinks, drugs, gambling. And that is the trifecta of cross addiction with ADHD. And that could be anything from addictions from shopping, gym, food, all the kind of things you think, oh, that's not an addiction, I'm going to the gym too much. It is. So we get hyper-fixated with it. So I think the turning point for me was my mum said to me, kick me out the house on multiple occasions. Didn't want to know me. We didn't have to speak for 6 months because I'd done all my money again. She said, call the doctors. I didn't know what I was calling the doctors for.
I was just about to say, so she said...
You go to doctors.
Because I remember when I first went to the doctors about myself, because I knew there was something not right. Okay, I knew, and someone said to me about ADHD, and I went to the doctors, and I went up to reception, walked in. I remember it clear as day. Walked in, they're like, when they go, because I couldn't fucking wait on the phone because I just didn't have the patience, obviously. So I went in, and she said, "So what would you like to see?" I said, "I'd like to see someone about an ADHD diagnosis." And the first thing she said was, "What, for your son?" Because here's a 40-year-old lad, and I was like, "No, for myself." And it was like, wow, that's your understanding of it.
Yeah.
But I knew that I knew there was something there in the background that I can't keep going through all this. I need to do something.
It's that cloudy. You just don't understand why you're acting a certain way, why you're doing certain things. This addiction behaviour. And it's at the last time where I gambled all my mum's money away. I had a birthday present. It's my mum's birthday coming up, and on the day I get thinking about it. It makes me. I gambled all of to buy her a present, and her face just. It was heartbreaking to see her face because I gambled all my money away to buy her birthday present. I didn't have a card or present for her. And then at that point, I felt so shit about myself. Just, why am I here? Don't want to be here anymore. And we all know with ADHD and being neurodivergent that the increase in suicidal ideation is around an extra 30%. You'd get more suicidal thoughts. So I ended up going down to the river and I wanted to drown myself, just jump in the river. And then my dad came to find me, and that was a turning point. I went to the doctors, I did the assessment, I was seen within 10 days, diagnosed, clean 7 years.
Mate, fair. I mean, firstly, well done. Because I think that's just incredible. But most importantly is that the change you've made in your life.
Yeah.
Because when you hear all that stuff you're talking about, people will be like, but the point, and this is getting you on here, I knew that we would get an honest account from you, and I know how good you are at what you do.
Yeah.
How brilliant, the LinkedIn, everything, and your job, and like you said to me when you're like, yeah, I built like £500,000 in 9 months or whatever it was, That's amazing numbers on an agency side, yet you're going through all that shit. And that's the bit where, when we talk about what's going on behind a CV, and when we talk about on this podcast around there is an absolute person behind that, there is a human being, and there are loads of different things behind that CV, right? Of what people go through.
Of course, yeah.
Your CV's here, and you're going through all that.
Yeah, it's you're hiding it, and I think if you said to me, what has it given me? An ADHD diagnosis, purpose. It's not making me feel like I was the only one that felt like that. I was the only one that was having all these addictions. I just didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't know. When you don't know why you kept gambling all your money away and then borrowing more money, and then you're like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep drinking to oblivion till I don't know what my name is, and falling in ditches and putting myself, as we all know as ADHDers, we put ourselves in really hot situations or putting ourselves into dangerous situations. You have no sense of safety. really. So I think after that, the diagnosis, I had to help people, and the amount of people, when I talk about addictions, the amount of people that come directly message me off the main comment section. Yeah, I've done that. Drink, drugs, gambling. You suddenly see the same chaotic behaviour. Not everyone's been through that addictions, but everyone's had some sort of an addictive, even if it's hobbies, like you're buying all the best gear on the first hobby you get. I'm going to go fishing. Right, let's buy $4,000 rods. You haven't even opened them for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You've got all the gear now. Like, well, I don't know what to do now.
Golf, golf. You come with like $4,000 worth of kit.
You
and
play
like,
you play
can't
for
even
100.
hit the ball. Yeah.
You play for 100. You're buying pro clubs because you think the pro club is going to make you the best player.
Yeah.
And when you're not good at it, you'll get annoyed with yourself. Right, I need to send it back. Right, it's too overwhelming sending this parcel back to Amazon. I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
But I will use it another time.
When you talk about the addiction,
yes,
like when people talk about addiction, surrender is one of the key words that people like accepting that you are
powerless over.
Because I know you've done GA, haven't you?
Yes, I did too. I did need 2 years in GA, and it was probably one of the most difficult experiences as well as powerful experiences. And I say that because you're listening to a bunch of people talking about gambling, which you then think, hang on a second, we're all talking a fellowship about gambling, about how people have come clean. And it's a bit like this sorts of podcast. You've got real people in the room sharing, because you used to share, and then you used to share about their gambling experiences, open up about their experiences and what they've done. And you know what? You come away from that meeting feeling something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's inner
purpose,
sort of spiritual. Yeah, I don't know if it's an inner spirit. I feel I'm quite an open-minded spiritual person. Things happen for a reason, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you end up just sort of coming away from it thinking, I don't want to be in that situation. Like when I went in there, I said to him, I don't think I've got a problem, and the guy said to me, go out and do more damage and come back when you have. That stuck with me. That stayed with me. Go and do more damage and come back. So you end up thinking, I've only done 10 grand. Some of these guys done $250,000 houses, millions of pounds. So yeah, I'm so glad to be free from that life. Like 7 years clean for me is like, oh my God, it's changed who I am and who I hang around with, and them kind of elements. You kind of then look at yourself. But yeah,
and with that, you were obviously, because I know that you are a very driven individual. You're obviously clearly very, results orientated. I think a big thing about ADHD is like results.
I want to be the best.
Yeah, exactly. We want to be. We don't miss targets. We're very competitive, and that to me is like some great traits for recruiters.
Yeah.
Like for recruitment, especially, because like it does take a special kind of individual to work in recruitment. I think.
Oh God, yeah.
And I think you and I are pretty special.
I just need to be the best.
Yeah.
I won't let anyone beat me. Yeah. In anything, but there will be people that will beat me. But at work, I need to be the best. I need to. I make myself well known. I do interviews with the CEO because I wanted to get him on to talk about his journey at Sony Sports, or something known as Sony Sports Technology. But I interviewed Rufus, who was our ex-CEO, and I had him in a conversation like this, talking about what we're doing here at Sony Sports Technology. Well, we just recently changed to that, but at Sony Sports Businesses or Technology, and he was on the D&I committee. I was on the D&I committee. Yeah. So, do you know what I mean? I was getting myself in front of him, and when he left, he sent me a lovely message and keep doing the good work, Tom. You know what I mean? I'm thinking
that you got $1 million from that.
And that beats any drink, drugs, whatever. Someone going to you, you're amazing at what you do. That is like the biggest pat on the back. You don't want to do more.
Yeah,
I want more people to tell me I'm great.
But we joke about how ADHD is seen as like it used to be and still is for some. Is like, oh, there's that naughty kid at the back of the classroom, causing loads of shit.
Yeah.
Do you think, right, in work, let's put it into work mode now, that you talked about, you're very open, you talk a lot about your story, and fair play to you. But do you think companies would look at it and go, oh, Tom's a risk? And like, is he fit for this culture? Is he fit for this business? Because of that?
It's a very good question, because because I've posted so much content about it. That's who I am, right? That's my story. That's my journey. If people can't accept that, there's always good intent with my content. It's always good intention. So if it's careers advice, if it's about ADHD or being inclusive or how to hire inclusively, it's all from a good place. So it's not like I'm a risk to the business because I'm helping employ branding. I'm doing content. I'm doing more. Doing more than I love posting content. It's my creative outlet, but I don't see that for anyone for a business to be that's a risk. I think the only real risk here is if you don't feel like you don't have the awareness or self-awareness where you are, I don't know, feel like you're not having a conversation at work and you don't understand why you keep leaving from a job, getting sacked, or get sent a catch-up meeting and you leave before the catch-up meeting. That's where the self-awareness piece is. What the problem is that we've got at the moment is that there's not enough knowledge around in companies around sort of we're inclusive. But if you said to what are you inclusive with then? Oh, we've got a wheelchair ramp. All right, that means we're inclusive. No, it's not. We've got wheelchair. So yet again, and I use that example because that's just even the basics. What about like I had sort of speaking to someone and they said the wheelchair ramp was at the back of the building. So yet again,
right.
But we're inclusive.
Yeah.
So when we talk about being inclusive, we're talking about from the start. That's even to the outreach. That's to the job description, using recruitment terms there. But sometimes it feels like sometimes it's a tick box. And I think that's what I've done at Sony Sports Technology is build that framework. Someone from lived experiences. I do the whole reverse mentoring thing, where I'm reverse mentoring people, leaders, or having conversations about how they would deal with a situation. People come to me.
How do they deal with that? How do they that reverse mentoring? Do they find that challenging?
No, I don't. Do you know what? It has to come. I'll go back to the good intentions. If, for example, something's happening, what do we do here? This is my suggestion. The challenge of my lived experience is different to your lived experience. What I say to one person here might not work for Joe over here, or Dave, or Angela, or whatever. So what we need to remember is you need to ask people what they want, what support they need. It's not assuming, because suddenly we can all assume that you're okay. Let's say if you're autistic or ASD, you're already. HR are giving you noise cancelling earphones and a fidget spinner, but you might
got them.
Yeah, I've got them too. But you might then think, well, why are you giving me that? That's not what I need. What I actually do need is meeting notes being sent to me, or questions, or some sort of like agenda, and I need one-to-one support after that conversation because I don't do well in group settings. So yet again, you're then going back to individual and tailoring each other's support.
Yeah. I think 100%. When I think of myself and my own personal sort of situation, when we talk about adjustments and putting things in place, etc., and you talk about the awareness is nowhere near where it needs to be. I can think of my son when he didn't get a letter for the school football team when he was in junior school a year ago, and it was just a case they forgot the letter. He was picked for the team. But because of his RSD, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute, he literally was a pain for 4 days at home, right? So we got called into the school and we said, like, what's wrong with him? You know, and we're like, well, you're aware he's got ADHD. And I said, look, and it boils down to this letter. And they're like, well, he was part of the team. I'm like, yeah, but with the RSD, which is rejection sensitive dysphoria, that was the end of his world, right? And they didn't know what that was. They were so their knowledge was so poor on neurodiversity in general. And it really made me think about workplaces and how, my son was getting constant feedback and rejection, and that could end as well. But then how much feedback there is and how much negativity there is, especially in the current climate at the moment where business is tough. And there may be a lot of people out there who do have ADHD, might be going through a diagnosis or don't know they've got ADHD. And businesses just aren't set up for that, are they? Especially from an RSD perspective.
Well, the thing is, it then comes back to how would you like your feedback delivered to you, Rich? Right?
Yeah.
You might have a one-to-one with me, and we talk about what your goals are and stuff like that. You might actually just prefer them meeting notes or whatever being sent to you after.
Yeah.
You might actually prefer you meeting up with me. I might actually prefer meeting you in person and having that conversation. Whatever. But you're just assuming that you want to do a meeting with me, but you're not asking me, would it actually be better for you if I deliver the feedback in person when we next see each other at work? You have to. The thing is, the problem that we've got at the moment as well is that in big corporate worlds, you are a high masker. If you're neurodivergent, you'll have people that will mask.
Yep.
I mask still, depending who I am talking with.
People wouldn't think you do, would
they because I'm very in, and this is because I'm very in tune, or I like to call bond.
Yeah.
I've bonded with my ADHD. There's still bad days, but I have, or up and down days, should we say? But the thing is that we're high maskers. It's a survival tool. So you might feel that if I said, just to let you know, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, I might not tell you that because I might think that's a countdown for me losing my job. So when we're creating safer environments at work where you can have open conversations, and most of this stuff is self-awareness. Most of this stuff at work is you don't have to have all this expensive neurodiversity certifications. Yes, it's good to have the awareness months. It's good to have the awareness months because people probably feel more they're obliged to be themselves. It's a permission. It's permission for me to be who I am on Neurodiversity Celebration Week, ADHD Awareness Month. But for the rest of the year, they might go back into the box. So everyone is different on their journey, and I think sometimes we are pushing people to unmask, but people are not ready to unmask. And you can unmask without unmasking. By, like, for example, if you're a manager, and you said to me, what's this question here, or this is the instructions for work, and I said to you, normally if I'm asking, I was like, yeah, I understand, cheers Rich, I'll go from that conversation, I fucking didn't understand what he said.
Yeah.
But then, so I'd sit there 45 minutes, I'd struggle what you said, I'd try and work it out. I'd feel so worried to ask you what you meant, because I'd make you then think I'm weak, or you think I'm not good enough. Then when I go for a spiral, then I think, I need support. That means I'm going to be singled out. But I could then go, Rich, I've just from your meeting, there's 2 questions here. Is this what you meant? But I'm not asking. I'm just asking for context. And that's what we have a problem with the workplace, is giving enough people enough context or enough information. And you can do things like that by just saying, hey, I just want to double check. Is this what you meant? If not, can I jump on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, hey, I'm not ADHD, I didn't understand because I hate instructions. La, 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 la. I'm asking you in work, and this is what we need to be doing, is pushing back.
Yeah. And I think which is a real strong point that you made was, and I think this is what you were saying, is that there is no one size fits all when it comes to ADHD in the workplace, because
or neurodiversity as a whole.
And neurodiversity as a whole. Yeah, exactly. Because what you go through versus what I go through, and we're just 2 people, is very, and we know that there are things that we are very different. So the key message from you is listening, by the sounds of it.
Listening, and don't be afraid to push back, because I think we're very much, what we've done all our life is fit in, go along with everyone else, people pleasing, and it's very unnatural for you to say no. You're used to saying yes to everyone. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Christ, I've just said yes to everyone. I don't know what I've done. I don't know who I've said yes to, and now I've got to cancel on someone else. They're going to hate me. They're going to don't want to spend time with me. So it's very unnatural for you to say no. But sometimes it's good to push back and set boundaries. And I think that's what you do when you become more experienced ADHD and you bond with your ADHD. You can start saying no. And you know what? It feels great to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
Without any backstory from it. No, I can't do this because I'm getting a washing my hair. Do you know what I mean? Whatever reason, because you'll say no, and then you feel obliged to give a backstory behind it. No, it's a simple answer. I'm not doing it.
There's lots of people going through self-doubt at the moment with neurodiversity, and they could be going through diagnosis, or they might know they are, but their business doesn't. What advice would you give to people who are in that situation, because whilst you and I are very open, I've said to you the first thing when I got diagnosed, I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell people. I am gonna overshare, and I'm gonna tell the world that I have ADHD, and there is that validation piece there, but there are not everyone is like us, right? And there will be people
different on the journey. Everyone's different on the journey.
So what advice would you give to people
for to what
if they are going through diagnosis, or they have been diagnosed, or they're thinking about it? And because the reason why I say this is because we spend most of our life at work. The two overlap. I don't care what anyone says. You cannot. I remember someone said to me, "Don't bring your personal life into work." Absolute rubbish. It's impossible to do that, especially in this day and age. So there are going to be a lot of people with a lot of crossover there. What advice would you give to those people?
Well, it's down to what you want to do. The advice is like start building ECGs, like as in like different like even like if you start becoming more confident with it, start building a ED&I group committee. So you can start having these safer conversations. Start thinking, what do you need at work that's going to make you feel supported? Is there like awareness months? Is there topics, or they have a safe space? Is your manager really approachable? The thing is, we are scared. We're scared because we think that saying maybe I'm masking in the corporate world, in massive large companies, that it's a ticking time bomb to being sacked, singled out. You don't want to be singled out. Oh, that's the autistic guy. Right, great. Well, first of all, I'm Thomas. I'm not ADHD. And this is the problem. What we have is that sometimes people, they make their identity all about the ADHD, all about the autism. But effectively, we're humans at the end of the day. I'm Thomas. I'm neurodivergent. That's it. And I think sometimes it's separating that piece, because we can all be then wrapped up on I'm ADHD this, I'm ADHD that, and our identity gets diluted by being neurodivergent when it shouldn't.
The strengths of this condition, though, and in the workplace, and this is the reason why another reason why I'm so passionate about it, because the results you can get for someone in a workplace who is neurodiverse is tenfold. But managed badly, you are seen as that bad employee. So I was never going to be the school prefect in work. So no one would ever go, look at Rich, look at the way he works. And probably, to be fair, if you said to me, how have you achieved that? I probably wouldn't be able to answer it very well.
Yeah.
But we are high performers, highly functioning, high performers. And I'm not saying like, oh, here's a load of like neurodiverse people, come and hire them because of that reason. But what I'm trying to get at is there are some real strong things. And I know, like you said to me once when you were like, I do recruitment, but I've learned code, self-taught coder. You're writing a book. Yeah. You have your own podcast. Yeah. You're a very good badminton player.
I'm all right. Play for Sussex.
You are quite. Play for Sussex and England. But then you go, but also, I was an addict. And you're like, that blows my mind.
And the thing is, people say addict, they think...
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, like gambling. Like, I've just been doing loads of different things, but I think people think addict, drug addict, or I'm on the street using that kind of element. But we can all be addicts in somewhat, workaholic, addict, work addict, all that sort of thing. And it is very much of like you said, you mentioned the strengths. You're going to a question, so I'm just sort of cutting in here.
No, you're right. No, you crack on.
I know about strengths, but we might do something different at work. Yeah, but we all get the same outcome.
Yeah.
So how you recruit might be something different to one of my colleagues recruits. Yeah. But we get the same outcome, but we've gone probably round the houses, up round the back, to the hot tub. They've just gone round the back to the thing, but we've gone round these houses. But it's a very different approach, but we all get the same outcome. And I think sometimes it's finding processes. We're going to get the same outcome. Just let us go and do the same outcome. We're going to get there.
But what was there anything in your career journey to date where you were like, that accommodated me, that really helped me, and that unlocked even more.
My director's going to hate me saying this. If he does watch it, I don't think he will, but
He might do.
Well,
You never know.
is how amazing he is, and
Okay.
how much of a safe space he gives. Where I don't feel like he is the director, and obviously he's the director, but how much of amazing leadership he is. And I'm actually not just saying that just because he's my director, but how much he understands, and he underestimates his own ability, but he's like, I see him as like the best tech. He's like, when I started recruiting, I pitched to him when my first recruit. He was like, yeah, I've pitched to him 10 years ago. And then now with my director at Sony Sports Technology, so I was trying to pitch to him to work on his PSL, not a Sony Sports Technology, but when he worked at an agent at an internal, I was trying to work with him, and I was a junior. And he said, I said to him, he said, I felt bad for you.
What, felt sorry for you?
Yeah, because it was my first recruitment BD.
Right, yeah.
And then I came up, and then obviously that company went. But I'll go back. It's an unnecessary story there. But what I actually liked was is managers, and I have only had 2 of these throughout my entire career that have created a safe space.
Yeah.
To actually, I feel I'm literally telling him how I feel about certain things, and he's not judging me, and that's so important for me. Is no judgment, because I can come away from that conversation, and I know that I'm not overshared or not said something the wrong way, and that's the beautiful thing. And all he's doing is creating a safe space for just me to be myself. What a weird thing that is. Someone to create a safe space just to be yourself.
Do you think everyone should do that anyway, though, right?
If they wait, exactly, but no fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Don't judge people.
Yeah.
Don't be curious with good intent. Be curious about, what does that mean with ADHD? That means this. And if I said something and he goes, it means, and they're like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah. Or they're a problem, or
yeah, exactly, a problem child.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But we've gone full circle there, because I think you said at the start of this episode, like, be curious, don't judge about CV.
Yeah.
And there's that link, isn't there? There's that CV there, person there. Don't judge don't judge and be curious about that CV. But then you're now talking about what's unlocking your strengths, and you're talking there about don't judge me, be curious about me, and create a safe space.
And what you'll get in return is someone that hasn't been sick for 9 years. I've never had a sick day.
Yeah.
Even 3 years. I'd have to be on my deathbed to phone in sick, because I just won't do it. But what you'll get in return is a fantastic worker, doing loads of different, way above and beyond what I do anyway.
Yeah.
A genuine person wants to help and support other people's team, making sure that I do good numbers, like whatever. And I feel like working at Sony Sports Technology is that's my being obviously a badminton player, because obviously Hawkeye. Yeah. I've always wanted to be an engineer, code, because I can code. I wanted to be that from school, but I followed everyone else because everyone was macho, gym guy. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm a lad, I can do that. But generally, deep down, I'm an absolute nerd. I love coding. Do you know what I mean? I love like collecting Lego. Like, do you know what I mean? You see my desk got loads of Lego. I've got Jaws and everything. Yeah. I'm just an old school guy, and I just got a lot of. I just want to do well in life, and that's not just from doing numbers, but actually making it for people to apply for jobs and they feel safe. If you see my candidate experience surveys, felt at ease straight away.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I'm just myself. I'm like, say, be yourself. Don't worry, it's not a formal interview. And do you know what I mean? It's creating them where people can be themselves, where they can interview, where they probably don't feel confident, and they can interview better by just saying these sorts of things.
And what I love about the fact this is, you know, you're, if you don't mind me saying, you're late 30s.
It might be.
Approaching 40.
No, I'm 38 in 2nd of May.
Would you say...
I've had a bit of Botox. Okay. You can tell when I don't know.
Would you generally, though, in all seriousness,
yes,
jokes aside,
sorry.
Would you say, though, that you're, like, in your career now, because you've got a boss that listens, because you've combined... You're in a safe space, because you've combined your love of, like, sport and tech and coding and stuff, you're the happiest you've been in work?
Most definitely. Yeah, no, most
Don't feel like you have to say yes to that.
No, most definitely. I feel accepted. I feel accepted. And The amount of when I had my breakup from Manchester and I was moved back down to work. Work was nothing but work just was there for me.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like ashamed of how I am as well, and felt bad that I could never talk about my like problems or challenges. I've always had to hide it and suppress it. So when I moved back from Manchester, and it took a few days to process going through that breakup, is that work were there for me.
Yeah.
They were there for me, and I always thank my lucky stars that I felt at a point where I wasn't going to be employed again, because I just couldn't get a job because of the sort of the hoppiness and having my own business and then doing this, and then like I'm so grateful to be able to work at a business that, one, gets me, two, lets me be who I am online, and three, I do well in, and I don't have to hide who I am, or I don't have to hide like how I'm feeling, and that's so important for me to be able to be myself, because all my life I've tried to be someone I'm not.
Do you want to take a break, mate?
No, I was fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mate, I mean, I think, like, you know, I mean, there's a lot I can relate to and stuff that obviously some stuff I can't relate to, but I think for me, like, you've massively hit the nail on the head, sorry. You got upset about it, but that's raw emotion coming through, because you've found not only a safe space, you found your happy place, right?
Yeah.
And like for me, like when I talk about people with their careers and whatever it is, whether it's about neurodiversity, whether it's about redundancy, whether it's about mental health, whatever it is, we go to work, and the work should be a safe space, right? And when you wake up on a Monday morning to go to work, and when you leave on a Friday, that period in between should all be about, don't get me wrong, there are tough times. You're not going to be happy all the time. I'm not that stupid to think that. But the fact that people like yourself have found that, but there could still be judgment against you because of whatever's happened in your past, or whatever those short stints on your CV. But I know, and it's one of the reasons why I got you on here, is because you're fucking good at what you do.
Yeah.
Like everything you do, you put to, you're good. And that like, it so sums up neurodiversity in the workplace. We're so misunderstood. But underneath that, whether it is a CV or underneath that person, there is someone who can massively add to your business, add value, create results. They just need to be handled a little bit differently.
Open-minded.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what you'll get in return is someone that would work. I love work. Like I work so hard.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm the same. I mean, I now, like, obviously myself and my business partner have a business, and I put my heart and soul into that. And because I know I've got people around me who understand me, because I've got that validation in my life now. And what I would say to anyone listening to this episode today is, if you are thinking about, getting diagnosed, go out and do it. You don't have to tell everyone, but go out and do it, because it will change your life.
Well, it's and some people won't do it because they don't want the label or whatever. But if you feel like your life has become unmanageable, I always say, go down that route, research it. You probably have researched it anyway. Don't look at TikTok and think 10 seconds because you've forgot to pay for something and suddenly you've got ADHD because it seems cool, it seems trendy. But the thing is, it's kind of like, do deeper research, like use LinkedIn, like conversations like this.
Yeah.
And probably loads of people will resonate with some of this. They might not, but it doesn't mean that they haven't got it because they can't resonate with some of the traits. But it's important to try and stop that busyness brain, to understand why you feel a certain way and why you feel shit near winter time, and recalculating your life purposes and talking to your toothbrush about, am I in the right job? It's just self-awareness, and I think a lot of this is self-awareness.
Mate, coming to the end now, but I've got 2 questions that I've got left for you.
Yes, fire away. Thanks for breaking me down.
I did it gently.
Yeah, you did
it gently.
Yeah.
This is a question I ask every guest.
Yes, go on.
If you could add one line that tells the real story about your career on your CV,
Christ.
what would that say?
One line on my CV
One line.
about my career. Be curious.
Yeah, love that.
Be curious. Be curious. Like I said, be curious with good intentions. Like I could ask you about something that maybe with your ADHD children. I'm not asking about because I'm being nosy. I'm being curious because I actually want to know about like how your son shows up. Do you know what I mean? That's good intention.
And I'll share. I'll tell you.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
amazing, mate. And lastly, Lauren Spearman was our previous guest. So what we do is on Just Beyond the CV, we get the previous guest to ask the next guest a question.
Yeah.
Bit of a signature moment there. Her question to you was, what part of work energizes you the most and why?
The one that energizes me the most is when people thank me for giving them the opportunity or helping them for a process, and they get a job at the end of it. That energizes me. That's more work focused. If you ask me a question about writing content and doing content, getting choked up again, but is people saying to me, "You've helped me." Yeah. Like to get a diagnosis, you've helped me understand myself, and so for me, getting that purpose from people that they feel seen, feel heard. The work one is obviously helping people and doing well in work and people getting jobs and seeing people get promoted at work and the quality of hire and everything like that. So it all comes back to helping people, and I feel like we always want to help people. We help everyone else, but we're so much to give it a fuck. Yeah. But
if only it was that straightforward, mate. If only
it
was that straightforward. Look, mate, you've been unreal today, and I think this is the thing that I think, in closing, for me, how this is only going to improve workplaces is by stories like yours, and telling the truth and being honest and being raw, and that scares some people. Don't mind that, and that scares some businesses. But what you can get is you can get some amazing employees out there who are going through a lot of stuff outside of work. And I think the biggest thing I've taken away from you today, because I do this to learn. You know that. I told you that earlier. I do this to learn just as much as anyone who's going to listen to this. And what I've learned from you today is listening. You know, listening. And if a business can listen to people who are their employees, they will understand a bit more. And I think we will then start to see better cultures. We will start to see things get good. And I think, mate, you know, fair play to you for raising that awareness.
And just to add on to that, don't be scared to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And I think what we're in this age now where people are so scared of getting like LGBTQIA+. I might get that wrong.
Yeah.
I might not ask for your pronouns. But it's all new things. So I think what will happen is be curious with good intention, but don't be scared to get it wrong as well, because that person will know if you've got it wrong. And it's not like, right, that's HR, you're off. That's I'm getting it wrong, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. You've been a legend.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it.